Why does every allegation against Donald Trump get endlessly investigated, while Joe Biden's corruption, John Kerry's corruption, Ed Markey's corruption, Jeanne Shaheen's corruption, Richard Blumenthal's corruption, all of that outrageous and obvious Democrat corruption in the Ukraine cash for gas scandal is completely ignored? You know why? Because the swamp looks after its own.
A Republican lawmaker is attempting to impeach new US President Joe Biden already. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene this morning filed 2 articles of impeachment against President Biden. They allege abuse of power when he served as vice president. She says Biden withheld billions of dollars in US aid to Ukraine in order to prevent an investigation into his son's business dealings in the country.
They come just one day after his inauguration. Greene's office says the reasons for the impeachment concern Biden's allegedly shady deals in Ukraine and allowing his son to siphon off cash from Russia and China. Greene's office released the statement just a day after Biden was sworn in as the 46th U.S. president.
Marjorie Taylor has filed her articles of impeachment against Biden for claiming that Biden corruptly forced the resignation of a top prosecutor in Ukraine around the same time that his son Hunter Biden was being investigated, and potentially there were ties to Burisma that were being investigated as well. And the easiest way to add some color to basically what spawned this sort of a corruption claim is to just watch the clip that kind of has gotten Biden into some hot water.
They made, I'll give you one concrete example. I was, not but it just happened to be, that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Now, obviously, depending on the way you look at this, that doesn't look too good. So Republicans on the right call this clear corruption, and I don't want to say all Republicans, but some people on the right call this clear corruption because they say this all relates to Biden trying to bail out his son to end the investigation into Burisma, because the guy that Biden wanted out was a top prosecutor in the Ukraine. And so if you get rid of the top prosecutor, then maybe that could potentially be deemed as ending the investigation into Hunter Biden.
It would be a massive injustice if we let things lie as they are. For years, the alleged corruption and abuse of power by President Trump has been investigated over and over and over again. But what about the alleged Biden corruption? Nothing, not a single investigation. Why does he get a pass? Why does President Trump have his administration blocked, probed, and hounded for 3 years, but nothing on the other side? That is not fair. That is not justice. That is not the rule of law, but the law of the swamp, and the king of the swamp is Joe Biden.
The move comes less than a month into the Georgia Republican Congresswoman's first term. Greene claimed in the statement that President Biden will do anything to excuse his son's corrupt actions and line his family's pockets with foreign cash. She also mentioned a tape showing Biden admitting to a quid pro quo deal with the Ukrainian government.
Let the investigation of Biden begin. And as John Kerry reveals tonight that he too may run for president, he too must be investigated over cash for gas. Are you listening, Senate Republicans? You and only you can do this. We now need to hear from Joe Biden. How much U.S. taxpayer money went to Ukrainian gas company Burisma while your son Hunter was on the board, and you sent billions of dollars to Ukraine's energy industry? You said you didn't know about your son's ties to Burisma, but last year he said he told you. So who's lying, you or your son?
Again, the appointment of the vice president's son to a Ukrainian oil board looks nepotistic at best, nefarious at worst. And the media didn't stop asking questions here. It kept going. Here's ABC.
You have to fight the cancer of corruption.
But then something strange happened. Just 3 weeks later, a Ukrainian natural gas company, Burisma, accused of corruption, appoints Hunter Biden, seen here in their promotional videos, to their board of directors, paying his firm more than $1 million a year.
When you were wandering around a crack den in Los Angeles in late 2016 while on the Burisma board, was that on behalf of Burisma? Let's call Burisma founder Mykola Zlochevsky. Why did you hire Hunter Biden? Was it his connections? Which connections? With strippers or crack dealers? As a corrupt oligarch, perhaps you thought Hunter Biden might bring you judicial immunity. Not a bad assumption, considering that when Hunter Biden returned a rental car with a crack pipe inside, along with a mysterious white residue, he got off with no charges being filed.
Here's more from ABC. Continued on.
And Ukraine wasn't the only country where Hunter Biden's business and his father's diplomacy as vice president intersected. It also happened in China.
This video shows Chinese diplomats greeting Vice President Biden as he arrived in Beijing in December of 2013. Right by his side, his son Hunter. Less than 2 weeks later, Hunter's firm had new business, creating an investment fund in China involving the government-controlled Bank of China. With reports, they hope to raise $1.5 billion.
Let's call Burisma board member Devon Archer. When you met with Vice President Biden, the new head of Ukraine policy, at the White House on the evening of April the 16th, 2014, did you discuss Ukraine, energy, or Burisma? Or was it just a total coincidence that 2 days after that meeting, Hunter Biden joined Burisma's board, and that 3 days after that, the vice president flew to Ukraine with promises of billions in aid for the Ukraine energy sector, which his son was now being paid by? Let's call David Leiter, the former John Kerry aide, hired by Burisma soon after Hunter Biden and Devon Archer, also a former Kerry aide, joined the Burisma board. Were you paid $90,000 by Burisma? What was that contract for? Was it a foreign influence campaign to direct US taxpayer dollars to Burisma?
When the House managers gave you their presentation, when they submitted their brief, they repeatedly referenced Hunter Biden and Burisma. And they referenced Biden or Burisma over 400 times. And when they gave these presentations, they said there was nothing to see. It was a sham. This is fiction. Between April 2014 and October 2015, Burisma paid more than $3.1 million to Devon Archer and Hunter Biden. These bank records show 17 months that Burisma wired two payments of $83,333.
Can you explain why that is not totally corrupt? And let's end for now with this one. If it's wrong for Republicans to solicit foreign dirt on Democrats, why is it okay for Democrats to solicit foreign dirt on Republicans? Why does every allegation against Donald Trump get endlessly investigated, while Joe Biden's corruption, John Kerry's corruption, Ed Markey's corruption, Jeanne Shaheen's corruption, Richard Blumenthal's corruption, all of that outrageous and obvious Democrat corruption in the Ukraine cash for gas scandal is completely ignored? You know why? Because the swamp looks after its own.